One.
Hello, everybody. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and this is my colleague, Tracy Priest.
Hey, everybody.
And we're with The Road to Retail. On our podcast, Tracy and I hope to offer tips, insights, and ideas for how small, emerging challenger brands can build their CPG business. Everything from determining if you're ready to grow online, go to retail, how to find an investor, how to hire suppliers to help you get there. Tracy and I have been doing this for a long time. We've made a lot of mistakes. We've had a little bit of success, and we'd love to share our insights with you to help make your journey on the road to retail as smooth as possible. Tracy?
Yeah, so Bruce and I have been in consumer packaged good commercial operations for, we hate to admit it, but 30 plus years. And commercial operations to us means sales, marketing, trade marketing, procurement, divestiture, sales. We've pretty much done all of it through the gamut of our long careers. And so really the purpose of our podcast today is to just share with small emerging brands our insights, knowledge of the things that we've experienced throughout our careers. And then also we invite on our podcast our esteemed colleagues and friends in the industry to share with us their insights as well. And we've been doing lately a founder series where we've been interviewing brand founders. And one thing I do want to mention is please follow us on our LinkedIn page, YouTube. We're also on iTunes as well as Spotify. So we have a lot of great episodes, so please tune in. But we've got an illustrious guest today, and we're excited to have Vicky. And so I'm going to let Bruce introduce our good friend and colleague, Vicky.
Thanks, Tracy. So in the spirit of full disclosure, I've had the pleasure of working with Vicky and her firm, Pathfinders Advertising, for a long time. They have never failed to deliver for us, whether projects are big or small, crash and burns with ridiculously short lead times. And they've also are preeminent in stretching budgets. So we're very happy that Vicky has come on air. Vicky just recently turned over the reins as president of Pathfinders Advertising to another good friend of the show, Mr. Kelly Ball. And Vicky is now the chief hunter and gatherer, also known as the chief growth officer for Pathfinders. So Vicky, welcome to the show. Thank you for your time. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself so people know exactly the depth and breadth of your experience?
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Bruce and Tracy. It's been really fun to watch the road to retail evolve and grow. So kudos to the two of you. I've been in advertising and marketing for 38 years, all agency side. I've worked at 5 different agencies, mid and large size. But I really appreciate the mid-size, which is like Pathfinders Advertising. I really feel like that mid-size agency really allows me and my team to really get involved with the brands and the companies we work with. Sometimes when it's a big shop, it's really hard to get that sort of intimate relationship that you really want to have with your customers and partners. I came up through account service, planning, and strategy. So I can't draw. I'm a stick person. So that's not where I live. My key, segments of experience are consumer packaged goods, healthcare, financial products and services, B2B. So, really well-rounded, I would say, in my 38 years. I have been at Pathfinders for 21 of those years. As you said, I was the president originally, or for quite a long time, and just recently chief growth officer. And so what I'm going to be doing now is really helping to keep our existing clients thriving and growing, as well as, going after new partners that would be a really good fit for the type of agency that Pathfinders is. So a little bit about Pathfinders. So we're a marketing partner. We don't have anything to sell, honestly, except our smarts. And I have some really, really, really smart people that can help guide our clients to a better place. So, what allows us to actually do that for our clients is, that, we can not push something that benefits us, but we can look more holistically at what is going to benefit our clients. So we're We're not saying, do a website because we sell websites, or do billboards because we sell billboards. That's just not how we roll. And we've found over our 44 years that doing the right thing for the right reasons not only gets our clients amazing results, but it gets us partners who've been with us for 5, 10, 15, even 40 years. So we seek great partnerships. We are a full service integrated marketing communications firm. So what does that mean? We can help our clients basically from planning and strategy, branding and positioning, creative and implementation, measurement, analysis, and repeat. So, pretty much from soup to nuts, we can help our clients move their business forward. Pathfinders is located in northern Indiana. We're about 90 miles east of Chicago, or maybe a better marker for you, Bruce, is about 3 miles down the road from the University of Notre Dame. We have 64 amazingly smart team members in 9 different states. That was sort of one of the good things of COVID, is we've been able to, really broaden our horizons with our people, and it's been great. And I'm actually located here in sunny Sarasota, Florida, so I get to wake up to sunshine and palm trees every day.
Excellent. Well, Vicky, after a long career like that, Vicky started in advertising when she was a student at La Petite Academy. So
Yes,
she's
I
been
was
in it
4.
for a long time. And just one thing before we move on, Vicky forgot to mention that the University of Notre Dame just won the men's lacrosse national championship over Duke. So we'll go from there.
Perfect.
Tracy, thank you for tolerating my shameless plug.
No problem. No problem. I can't wait for football season. And then we can really talk a real sport. Anyway, great. Well, let's jump in here. So, Vicky, first question for you. What kind of mental checklist does a small emerging challenger brand need to really go through, in your professional opinion, before they really think that they're ready for retail? Obviously, that's not an easy decision to make, but you've worked with a lot of brands across your illustrious career. So what are some things that a brand really needs to think about before going into retail here in the US?
Yeah, it's a great question. And honestly, Tracy, by the time that Pathfinders gets involved with a brand, the product is usually already established. It might be relatively new or in year 1 or year 2, but the decision to have a branded product is already complete, by the time we get involved. But, what I will tell you is that your brand must have a purpose in some way or another. It has to have, a meaning and something that people are going to want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think also differentiation is really important as well. You've got to have a point of difference. Bruce and I always talk about, you don't want to be launching the 18th brand of gluten-free chocolate chip cookies.
No, you know what? Differentiation, it sounds very basic, but you either have to have a better or an improved mousetrap to gain attention and interest, especially when you're new. I love to think about, differentiation can come from that unmet need or pure want. I always think about the concept of milk. Think about milk. We used to have whole milk, we used to have buttermilk and 2% milk. Now there's 1% fat-free, organic, soy, almond, cashew, goat, coconut, rice, lactose-free, flavored. Now that's differentiation in a segment, okay? Right. Where you get into an issue is if you are the 25th almond milk to the market, it's really like, why do I want yours? What is the thing that you are going to do to make your 25th almond milk something that I care to buy?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Vicky, when hearing what you said, that a lot of times you guys get involved after the brands are a little bit established, so the decision to go forward has happened. Yeah. But you guys still get involved early a lot that I'm aware of. Sure. How do you talk to either a founder or even if a brand's within a big company, if some of the things that got them to their current position, and obviously they want to grow, right? Or they wouldn't be talking to any agency. Right. How do you talk to them about things that might be almost emotionally illogical? Like, man, that logo's not really great, or it's tough to read, or it's awfully close to, your milk brand is, the colors are identical to, some leader. How do you guys have those kind of delicate conversations that their brand presentation is really solid?
So, I mean, those can be the tough conversations, Bruce, because as you can imagine, by the time they've potentially gotten the product that they're going to launch, they've named it. Perhaps they've got a logo for it. They might even have some packaging, and that's a very, very subjective and personal exercise, right? So it's kind of like your baby, and you certainly don't want to be the one to tell that person their baby's ugly. So you do definitely have to be careful. I think what we always like to do when we start these conversations is start thinking at that foundational level. Now, we get very involved in developing brands or rebranding and that positioning work. And so, the conversations that we tend to have is, okay, you've got this thing, but what does it mean? And how does it resonate with a customer? And what is that deeper motivation that is going to get people to care about your brand, and what you're trying to accomplish out there? So if the brand is well established, and again, I'm going to use air quotes with that, our job then is to take that work that's potentially already been done and bring it to life in a variety of ways from a communication standpoint. If it needs a little bit of work, we're going to be honest. I mean, we don't know how to be anything else other than candid. And, I would rather tell you the truth and be honest with you on the upfront than, just go along for the ride. And then 6 months later, a year later, things not going the way it's planned. And, me sitting there going, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. So it's really having some of those, tough emotional questions and conversations that help us kind of get set up on the right track.
Right. So to build, I'm sorry, Tracy, did you have something else before we go on?
I applaud you, Vicky, for having those candid conversations with brand owners, because no one likes to hear their baby's ugly. So, and we've talked to a lot of founders on our show, and we call it my baby's beautiful syndrome, and everybody's going to love it. Everybody's going to buy it, and it's going to be great. So,
yeah.
Yeesh.
Well, and Tracy, I wanted to go back to a question that you were asking about, we were talking a little bit about differentiation as, one way to stand out. And I think another great way too, that brands can think about is, that idea of a purpose-driven brand. Those are, brands that have done a really good job of incorporating both their moral and ethical beliefs into their business and all that they do. And what it really can do is, again, it's a good thing. Let's just start with that. But it really adds another layer of texture to the brand story, because not only are you providing, a great product, but you're also doing good along the way. So that combination can be super powerful. I mean, there are companies that want to provide shoes for everyone. So for every shoe purchase from their company, they're going to donate a pair of shoes. Or, you've got companies that want to replenish the forest. So for every, box sold, they're going to plant a tree, or they're going to make the world a better place. And they're going to accomplish that through the sale of amazing ice cream. So there's that purpose-driven is also another really interesting way to differentiate or stand out, in the crowd there. And with consumers becoming, so much more socially conscious, I think I saw something recently, like 60% of consumers prefer brands that are ethically aligned with their beliefs and values. So that's pretty, powerful. And other ways, to differentiate or kind of an outreach of that purpose driven, can be, concept of, being very sustainable, only using recycled products and recycled papers, being climate neutral production, or going as far as being 100% certified organic. Bruce and you and I have had lots of interaction with those types of things for food products or coffees. And those are all, interesting things that you can pursue. But, some of those you got to keep in mind that, certain certifications can take a lot of time and even cost some money, and then you have to keep them up. So again, lots to think about as you're, kind of setting up your brand.
And
So-
one thing I wanted to add too, Bruce, that really resonates with me, that you said, is the brand story. More and more brands, and consumers are looking for, the brand story.
Yep.
And so maybe elaborate a little bit. I mean, purpose driven is really important, but I think today consumers, and chime in here, Vicky, are looking for authenticity, real, obviously quality products, but I think they really resonate with a brand story. So maybe chime in on that, on how important that is.
Yeah. And, we, in my business, we call that positioning, and then the copy platform, and that comes out of the brand archetype work that we do. And again, that's a whole nother podcast that I'd be happy to do. But the story is really important. It's, what you stand for. It's your why. It's not the features and benefits of your product. It's that deeper meaning and storytelling that is going to start attracting your customers, because we're all attracted to things that are like us, or that think like us, or believe like us. And brands are the same way. If a particular brand stands for things that I find important, I need to be talking about that and sharing that so that people can understand my passion for it, and want to help me even achieve my goals through the purchase of my particular product. So that is a really, key step in the process. And that's for us considered foundational, because if you don't establish that positioning and that storytelling, all of the tactics and the pieces and parts that you're going to start utilizing in your marketing communications are like starting from scratch every time. But if you have your story written and crafted, and everyone understands it and lives by it, then every piece of communication that goes out is going to come from that source. It doesn't mean picking up every word that's in there. It's about using that, though, as your guiding light to the communication that you're pushing forward to your end customer.
So Vic, with what you've talked about so far, so let's say you have a client come in, and again, I understand that you guys generally don't work with pure startups, but let's say fairly new brand, and they come in. How do you guys help them prioritize? Like, hey, you guys have a big dreams, like everyone does who has a brand, whether you're a brand manager or a brand founder. But how do you help them create the batting order of the stuff you have to get right first? Whether it's like, to your point about having a cogent, crisp story. Another thing, is it get your website right? So that's one thing. And then my follow-up question you can think about is, how do you help people kind of think through budgets? Because in the old days of brand managers, you did all your budget, and whatever was left, you put in A&P as it plugged to whatever your profit number was. But, people might come in and they have, a fairly lean budget, and yet they want to do 600 things. I mean, how do you help them focus so that they get bang for their buck and can learn?
Yeah, no, great question. So, brands, regardless of your size, should really expect to spend, as low as 5% to as high as 30% of expected revenue as sort of a rule of thumb. Obviously, that percentage is going to be much higher in a year of launch than it is during a year of maintenance, So, anytime you're getting ready to launch a new brand or a new product in your lineup, that first year, you've got to be willing and able to invest in your marketing communications activity. So, I know that's always shocking and people don't, think about the marketing spend, but you've got to make that, a priority. And, that's really where, an experienced agency partner does come to help, and not everything that you do as a brand has to cost a lot of money. You have various ways to get your message out there. You just need to know the right recipe. And again, that's where, a seasoned marketing person or a marketing communications firm can help. We sort of structure Marcom plans in usually like 3 areas, and that's, owned, earned, which is now called word of mouth, and paid. And the owned activities are, content that you publish for free. It's content you own and you control, which might include your website, your social channels, your blog post, even your email list, so that you can do email marketing. That's all yours and you can control it. The earned or the word of mouth is really that unpaid, visibility, where others are talking about you, and that's priceless, actually. And that could be things that influencers are saying about you. It could be public relations, where maybe you get some press releases here, or you get on a local news channel there. Reviews are part of that word of mouth, and, content sharing on social channels. Those are great. And I just mentioned reviews. Those are so powerful. 80 to 90% of consumers trust product reviews. So, getting those on your site and you really embracing those are important. And even somewhat, guiding your customers for, the kind of reviews you're looking for, help them. Because oftentimes it's like, yeah, it's a great product. Well, that doesn't really tell anybody anything. So sometimes you can give a few prompts to even help them get them a little bit better. I would also say embrace the negative reviews, because that also helps you be authentic. And, sometimes you might need to get offline, when those things happen, but don't avoid them. Get in there and get dirty and answer them. And then the third thing is paid. And that's anything, that's paid for placement of your message. And that can be both traditional, things like print, radio, and TV, or online, social media ads, search, and display. But it's the mix of those things. And, until an agency understands what you can afford to spend, it's really hard to say exactly, how you should allocate those dollars. So it's a combination of understanding, what we're trying to accomplish from a brand, and what the spend is and where we're going to get the most bang for the buck. I mean, you referenced that up front when you were your kind introduction. That is something that we are very proud of as an organization is, if we help you spend your money smartly today, you're going to be a partner of ours for another 10 or 15 years. So we're going to always make sure you're doing the right things, even if it doesn't benefit us in the short term.
Well, one of the issues that I'd like to just build on before I hit it back over to Tracy is in a lot of our other episodes, when we talk about the launch, one of the things you said, Vic, which is very dead on some of the other components of the road to retail. If you are a brand and you have some distribution with retailers, you have to create the pressure to get your product turning at the shelf, or your time in distribution will be short, expensive, and sad. You have, a lot of these retailers, Tracy and I just interviewed a guy a couple of weeks ago, and he said a lot of the more sophisticated retailers, within 60 to 90 days, they've already identified what they call an early slow mover list, which is the first kiss of death. Yep. They are now watching you, and they are not expecting good things. So to your point, you got to have the money to spend to get it going, because one of Tracy and my bumper stickers is people celebrate when they get distribution. And we've had multiple buyers from large retailers say, guys, that's when the work starts. That's not the end of the journey. It's the start. Tracy?
100%.
Absolutely. So one question I had is, Vicky, is maybe share, without naming any names, some, success stories that you guys have worked on, and what elements did they really get right? And maybe some brands, or without again naming names, that didn't get it right. So maybe share some examples with our audience, because I know that our audience loves real world examples.
Oh, all right, good. Again, since I've been doing this for 100 years, I've got, there are lots that come to mind, but there's one that I'm still proud of to this day. And it was a few years back. But the brand that we started working with was in the adult nutritional segment. And they had about an 8 to 10% market share against a giant that had about 80 to 90% of the market share. So talk about a David and Goliath. It doesn't get much bigger than that. And I'm going to make this sound way easier than it was, but again,
Right.
because of time. But our ultimate strategy was to allow the big guy to continue to spend millions and millions, and I'm talking tens of millions of dollars, educating the consumer on the segment and driving traffic to the shelf. Okay. But once the consumer got to the shelf, everything was pointing to our product. So from the name of the product to the positioning of the product, to the packaging itself, to the activity that we were able to actually do on the shelf. And we were able to block that main competitor off those at shelf activities for 2 years through a contracted relationship. And, when 60 to 70% of retail purchase decisions are still made at shelf, we were able to move the needle and get into the high 20% market share for that brand in less than 2 years. So,
Good job.
yeah, I mean, it
That's
was
awesome.
pretty cool. And again, that the brand still thrives. And but it was so much fun to think so differently, because I think a lot of brands would go, oh, we've got to do advertising, we've got to spend, and again, you can't compete there. So what are the the interesting ways in which you can get in there and make a big impact without spending the same amount of money that the big guys are? The worst move, I'm not sure it's necessarily a particular client or experience, but I would say the biggest thing or the worst move that I see happening is spending cuts. Marketing communications, sadly, is always the first to be cut when it should be the last. You especially see this during recessionary times, which we're in once again. Brands get scared and they cut their spend levels. And, again, I've been in this for a long time. There is so much research, because there have been other recessions that prove that it's a terrible strategy. So those who cut their marketing spend lose market share during that time. And those companies or brands that maintain or even spend a little heavier, they can either maintain or even gain market share. And they always come out on the other end of recession much better and much stronger. So spend. And then the other thing, maybe not quite as serious as cutting your spend when you shouldn't, but taking the creative in-house sometimes can be not a good thing. You think you're saving money, having your internal team do it. And, oftentimes it's, the kid with 1 or 2 years out of college, who's a graphic designer and maybe someone who can write a little bit of copy, but, they're not seasoned enough to understand good brand messaging and or taking over, the specific channels. So, we can help a brand get, this far, and then all of a sudden it starts, regressing backwards, and you've lost, 5 big steps. And then there's a realization, is like, what's happening? Well, your consistency and momentum have gone away. And then we have to come back and sort of, fix things. So I think those are 2 that I've seen pretty consistently take place that I don't advise.
Well, it's interesting because there's a certain very large consumer packaged goods company in Cincinnati who believes to their core that during tough times, they put the hammer down and they keep the pressure on, and they pick up share while everyone else is in the bomb shelter, waiting for sunnier days.
Yep.
Another question here for you, Vic. When you see, in your years and the people that come into Pathfinders to meet, what are the traits that you see of whether it's a brand founder or whoever your lead client is, when you're like, this is going to go well? They sort of get it. Are they humble? Are they like swashbuckling, damn the torpedoes? I mean, what are there a couple of traits when you're like, this man or woman gets it, this is going to be okay?
Yeah, and you just said one of them, but I would say it's got to start with being honest and candid. You've got to start there. We're not here to pull the wool over your eyes. We're here to be your partner. So the more you can share with us, the more information you get in our hands, out of your head and into our heads, the better our relationship is going to be. So don't hold back. And sometimes there's some weirdness there. Be pragmatic, because it doesn't matter how competitive you are or passionate you are, things, aren't going to be the best, the greatest, it's like, you have to have a little bit of that realism. Be brave. And I liked your word humble as well. Know that you don't know it all. And that's why you're talking to us. You can certainly have opinions, and we welcome your opinions, but at the end of the day, Kelly and I always joke, we don't tell our accountant or lawyer how to do their job, but it's amazing how many people wake up every day and think they're a creative director, or, they're a strategist, and, can instantly jump into our shoes and do what we do. So, again, it's nice when you can ask the experts.
Yeah, everyone, after all these years, I've come to the conclusion that everyone thinks they're an expert in sales and marketing because everyone is a consumer. Kind of your example of people thinking that they can take marketing in-house. Tracy and I run into this all the time, whether it's brand management or sales execution. They think that, any trained German Shepherd should be able to do it. And Tracy and I say, wait a minute. So to your point, you wouldn't do your own legal work unless, of course, you were a lawyer. So why would you rather fail for free than hire people that actually know what they're doing? It boggles my mind, because whether it's retail distribution or an initial positioning of your brand, there are some examples of brands and people getting do-overs and pulling a rabbit out of their hat. But often, if you have a car crash out of the gate, I mean, it is hard to mop that up. If you get discontinued at, say, Sprouts, the Whole Foods guys look at that and they're like, I'm not even going to invest my time. Something went wrong. I'm not going to look like a dingbat by bringing this in. Tracy, anything else before we ask Vicky about?
Yeah, just one of the things I thought that was really important, and tell me what you think here, Vicky, is the founders and the brands that are most successful are the ones who, like you said, don't think they know it all, are humble and willing to listen to at least advice. So just want to reiterate that to our audience, that listen, be willing to listen and pivot and change based on what the expert is telling you to do. And that, I just wanted to reiterate that to our small emerging brand audience today is, be open to input. And you can't take everything personally, even if Vicky and her team say your baby's ugly.
Yeah, and the other thing that came out of Vic's discussion, which we've heard from other people, folks, is that CPG, it never sleeps. Whether it's your website, it's the decisions being made at the shelf. It's rarely one massively great decision. It's the relentless pursuit of execution day to day, and reacting to what a competitor might do, or, changing something that's not working rather than hoping. We've heard from a couple of our retail buyers that we've interviewed. They said, don't ever think we don't see the data. We have more data than we know what to do with. So when something goes wrong, point it out. If you're a brand working with a Pathfinders type of firm, if you have a challenge, call them. That's what they're there for. Vic, so thank you so much for coming on. Do you have any closing comments? Otherwise, how can people get in touch with you or learn more about your firm?
Oh, no, that's great. I think this is a great conversation. And, I think, don't be afraid to listen and learn. I think, this is an amazing business, and it can be a lot of fun too. I mean, I am an old dog that continues to learn new tricks every single day. So I encourage, people to be sponges and listen and learn, because you're going to grow, and you and your brand are both going to be better for it. And so, yeah, I mean, to reach me, you can go to our website, which is www.pathfind.com, or you can reach me at V as in Vicky Holland, HOLLAND at pathfind.com. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, that would be great. Tracy, the big finish.
The big finish. Thank you so much, Vicky, for being on. Great insights. I know our audience is going to enjoy this podcast. And so again, audience, please follow us on our YouTube channel, Spotify, iTunes, and also look for this podcast to be posted on our LinkedIn page here in the next couple of weeks. And again, thank you, Vicky. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks.
Good luck out there, folks.